All right, let's talk to Coach Vermeil. He has certainly coached in conference title games, 4 of them. We'll be coaching, 4 coaches that is, will be coaching in conference title games this weekend. Unfortunately, our coach and our team will not be one of the participants, but the legendary Dick Vermeil, that success led him to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. You surprised me. I didn't know I was going to be on. I'm listening to your show this morning, and all of a sudden, Vermeil will be on in 5 minutes.
Whoa. Well, thank you.
My toothbrush.
Thank you for joining us on the go like that.
Double thank you. Thank you for listening also when it's not your scheduled time. We appreciate that. So, Coach, and we'll figure out next week and beyond off the air, but so, we were thinking go through the Super Bowl, but we'll figure that out. Coach, let's start with this. Obviously, the big news this week for the Eagles has been a coordinator search. So you've been through these. How involved is it? How much is it you know what you want, but it's not easy to get the person you want? How much is it about trying to connect coordinator style to playing style of players? Walk us through the hiring and coordinating process as a head coach, as a leader in an organization.
Well, I think it's a lot tougher today because more people fall into the category of being capable of being an offensive coordinator. Remember, in the old days, you didn't have any 32-year-old offensive coordinators, and you always looked to people that had done it before. Myself, I was fortunate that I was also a college coach and also a broadcast 8 years in college football games. I was able to watch coordinators in college and study what they were doing and get to meet them and all that kind. So my area to draw from was maybe a little broader than the modern head football coach. But I think today they lean toward a person that's been involved in a scheme that appears to be very successful over a period of years, and they go in and hire that guy. The one problem with that is they don't know how much he was responsible for the scheme's success in the first place, the overall design and everything like that. The other thing is they don't really know what kind of a quality leader he is in front of an offensive team, 5-6 days a week, and then on game day. So, but I think today there are more candidates because they included a larger age group, and I think there are probably more guys to consider because there are so many real good schemes or that are successful or appear to be successful, and they're willing to bring them all in. I was my own offensive coordinator at the Eagles. At the Rams, obviously, I could not do it, having been out for 14 years. But I watched a lot of other people do it. Then I brought in Jerry Roll, who I had coached at the Rams, who had been an offensive coordinator in a couple of different teams successfully. And then I let him go and brought in Mike Martz.
Pretty good decision.
I hired Mike because I watched him at Arizona State first, okay?
Wow.
And at broadcasting his games and visiting with him. And I always went in and tried to learn something from the people I was presenting. I'd talk football with him, and I was extremely impressed. And he was on the staff at the Rams before I took the job, and I heard players talk about him. And he'd already gone. He was already gone by the time I got there. So that's when I brought in Jerry, and obviously he was very, very successful.
Yeah.
So how important is it to you, Coach, that the new Eagles offensive coordinator has called plays in the NFL already? How important is that?
I think it's a good experience. I think it's good to have that experience and that the head coach, everybody else, the fans, the owners, the players can evaluate how he is under pressure. And Keith Krefley called me yesterday or the day before. We were talking on the phone. Rather, he was laughing because he was watching the games this weekend. He said, "Coach, those coaches on the sideline were so calm." In contrast to the man he was talking to. Okay. But in the schemes in the early days when I was especially coaching the Eagles, they were not nearly as sophisticated as they are today. They don't do as many. We didn't do as many things as they do with the ball. We didn't see as many defensive schemes as they use today. But I think it's good to have experience. There's been a lot of guys that didn't have it. It came in and did a real good job. You just got to be fortunate on your pick. I was never really good in the evaluation process or interview process. I relied a little bit more on the people I trusted and really knew. And say, if Bill Walsh told me to hire the guy, I'd hire the guy. I wouldn't bring him in. And I've hired a guy without interviewing him. Okay?
If it's Bill Walsh.
Based on what the person told me that recommended him to me. So I think the Eagles will do a thorough job. And Nick knows what he needs. You know, so much is put in to the play called game day on 3rd and 4 or any down a distance. Even as important or more important is the design of the scheme and the game plan approach all week long and what they are going to do and why they are going to do it. Then it gets called in the situation they decided that they were going to do it during the ball game. You know, so it's a major factor. Believe me,
Coach.
He's a major contributor.
How attractive is the Eagles' offensive coordinator position to coaches? We were told that Mike McDaniel was their top choice. That was reported, and it was also reported that Mike McDaniel never made it to Philadelphia to even be, interviewed for that position. How attractive is the setup here in Philly?
Well, I think it's one of the top ownerships in football. I think I might have said this a while back, but I was real close to Marty Schottenheimer. And he always said there's 3 things that are very, very important on an NFL football team when you take a coaching job. Number 1 is the owner. Number 2 is the owner. Number 3 is the owner. Okay? Jeffrey's done a marvelous job. And it all starts there, and then it moves to Howie. Okay? Then it moves to your coaching staff. And I don't think there's a better organization above the head coach here. And Nick will tell you that. They've done a great job. It's just things didn't go as well this year for multiple reasons, and probably not all just because of the offensive coordinator. Okay,
I agree.
There's
I agree with that.
Variables.
Dick, one of the things that has stood out to me watching the playoffs is I get the impression the Eagles were further away than I thought, and I think most of us thought. When this thing started 2 weeks ago, I thought the Eagles were in a clump of 7 to 10 teams that could win it all. But then I saw Seattle play more, and I thought, holy mackerel, I don't think the Eagles were close. Were they further away, the Eagles further away than you thought when you see the excellence a team like Seattle puts out there?
Well, studying the information I study and evaluate during just for fun, they were a very low rated playoff team. Of course, I'm sitting here pulling for them and thinking all of a sudden they're going to all of a sudden be a better offensive football team. I knew defensively they could win it, but they still were going to have to produce points, on the plus 24 side more often than not. And all of a sudden, what it proved this year more than I've ever seen is how many teams could come and win it in the last minute of the game. Mm-hmm. I sit here as a coach, and I say to Carol, why do these guys go to zone prevent defense against the modern quarterback?
Yeah.
They pick them apart. You got to gamble, tighten up, play man, and say, you're going to beat me one-on-one somewhere, but you're just not going to move the ball down to 3 plays and kick a field goal and win,
Yeah. Coach, you've dealt with the dynamics within a coaching staff time and time again through the years. Is Jeff Stoutland's role as the offensive run game coordinator, essentially, is that interfering with the process of getting a top offensive mind in here to be the offensive play caller?
Well, if I was a candidate, I'd want to come and work with him. Mm-hmm. Really, because you learn something as a football coach every day, no matter how many years you've been coaching. And more often than not, you learn from the people you work with, okay? You learn from the people you work with. And I would want to work with him because we've all appointed him the top line coach in football. So I can't stand seeing that being a negative unless the guy has such a strong ego that he believes he couldn't work with somebody that knows more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's
amazing.
What about now? There are callers that we've had people wonder aloud how much we, the fans, can be a part of the package. You know, how when coaches come in and consider taking a job with the Eagles, how much do the Eagle fans and the intensity, I guess for lack of a better word, that we go at it with, you know, the word was the last offensive coordinator's house got egged. Does that weigh for these new coaches who are coming in and interviewing for the position?
I kind of doubt it.
How much? Okay.
I kind of doubt it. I think overall, everybody that's coaching in the National Football League on an NFL staff know that Philadelphia is a great football town. And if you do anything close to a real good job, you become part of their family. They may get mad at you. They may spank you when you make a mistake, but they're going to come back and love you when you do it right. And it's so evident in this city, and I can say that because I worked in 4 different cities: Los Angeles, St. Louis, Kansas City, and here. You know.
Yep.
Coach, if the snow, traps us all this weekend and electricity's out with the TV and you can't watch the games, you know what to do, right?
Yeah, you get WIP.
That's right. That's right.
With
WIP's
some
got
Vermeil wine.
the games. and some Vermeil wines, Rhea, well said. So let me remind everyone, get yourself some Vermeil wines, of course, at VermeilWines.com. Coach's entire wine selection, it is phenomenal. All the wines you can possibly imagine, VermeilWines.com. Coach, we'll coordinate for next week and beyond, but thank you so much for being on the show today, and good luck with the snow.